Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS, presenting to you the daily quiz for 25th of May 2021, Tuesday. Let us begin and have a look at the first question for today. Which of the given statements is or are correct with respect to the GST Council? Statement number 1. Chairperson of the Central Board of Excise and Customs is a permanent invitee to all the proceedings of GST Council and has one vote. Each state has one vote irrespective of its size or population. Half of the total number of members of the council constitutes the quorum at its meetings. Let us have a look at the context. This article in the Hindu newspaper today has a reference to the GST Council. Coming back to the question, let us have a look at the first statement. The chairperson of CBEC is a permanent invitee to all the proceedings of GST Council. Correct? And has one vote. This is wrong. While CBEC chairman is a permanent invitee to all the proceedings of the council, does he or she have a power to cast a vote in the council? No. The chairperson of CBEC is a non-voting permanent invitee to the council meetings as well as the proceedings of the meetings. Statement number 2. Each state has one vote irrespective of its size or population. Correct? Half of the total number of members of the council constitutes the quorum at its meetings. This statement is again correct. So the correct answer would be option D, 2 and 3 only. The 101st Amendment Act introduced goods and services tax in India, and Article 279 Clause 1 of the amended constitution stated that the GST Council has to be constituted by the President within 60 days of the commencement of the Article 279A. Therefore, GST Council is a constitutional body. This body is a key decision-making body that will take all important decisions regarding GST. It dictates the tax rates, tax exemptions, the due date of forms, tax deadlines, etc. These decisions are taken at the meeting of the council. And how is this decision made? The decision is taken by a majority of not less than 3/4 of the weighted votes of the members present and voting. Here, by weighted average, we mean that the vote of the central government shall have a weightage of 1/3 of the total votes cast, and the votes of all the state governments taken together shall have a weightage of 2/3 of the total votes cast in that meeting. And half of the number of members of the council constitutes the quorum at its meetings. Moving on to question number 2. Which of the following can help in carbon sequestration? Number 1. Dumping of iron in the upper ocean. Number 2. Crop rotation. Number 3. Deep sea fishing. What is the context? A Bangalore-based startup has been awarded the TDB National Award 2021 for coming up with a commercial solution for conversion of carbon dioxide into chemicals and fuels. This solution has integrated various components of carbon capture, carbon utilization and sequestration to provide solution for global warming. Carbon sequestration refers to the process of removing carbon from the atmosphere and depositing it in a reservoir. This is done in order to check global warming. This reservoir could be oceans, plants, soil, and underground geological formations. The question asks which of these can facilitate or help in removing carbon from the atmosphere, that is, help in carbon sequestration. Let us analyze each of the options one by one. What is the intent of dumping iron in the upper ocean? The intent is iron fertilization. So what is iron fertilization? The introduction of iron or dumping of iron in the ocean will stimulate phytoplankton bloom. This phenomena is called as iron fertilization. These phytoplanktons, like all plants, take up the carbon dioxide from air and convert it into carbon compounds such as carbohydrates. This can significantly induce the carbon sequestration in oceans. Also, when these phytoplanktons die, they start sinking, taking the carbon with them, thereby putting away the carbon in the atmosphere. So this is correct. Next option is crop rotation. Crop rotation increases the organic content in the soil. This crop rotation, by increasing soil's organic content, fosters carbon sequestration. The soil carbon refers to the carbon held within the soil, mainly as organic content. So this is also correct. Coming to deep sea fishing. We discussed that when phytoplanktons die, they take carbon with them. These get deposited in deep sea. Similarly, other animals and plant materials get deposited in deep sea and become a part of the ocean food web. When humans overfish the oceans or go for deep sea fishing, the carbon is removed from the oceans and thereby we are disrupting the deep sea food webs and the carbon sequestering and storage services that they provide. So this option is wrong. Therefore, the right answer to this question is option C, 1 and 2 only. Moving on to question number 3. The search committee involved in making recommendations for the appointment of the Central Bureau of Investigation Director comprises of 1. Chief Justice of India, 2. Leader of Opposition or leader of the largest opposition party, 3. Central Vigilance Commissioner, 4. Home Secretary, 5. Prime Minister. Let us first look at the context. This article in the Hindu newspaper today says that the high-powered panel headed by the Prime Minister comprising of Chief Justice of India and the leader of Congress in Lok Sabha, which is the opposition party in Lok Sabha, met to finalize the choice of CBI's next director. So how is the director of Central Bureau of Investigation appointed? The CBI draws its legality from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act of 1946. Before the establishment of CBI, there was Special Police Establishment, which was India's first agency to investigate corruption, set up in 1946 by the British. In the year 1963, the Home Ministry changed its name to Central Bureau of Investigation and expanded its powers. But it is still governed by the 1946 Act. Before the Lokpal Act was legislated, the CBI director was appointed by the DSPE Act. But now the Lokpal Act governs the appointment of CBI director. The CBI director is appointed by the centre on the basis of recommendations of a search committee. And this search committee comprises of Prime Minister as the chairperson, the Chief Justice of India and the leader of opposition. But the Chief Justice of India can nominate a Supreme Court judge if he does not attend the search committee meetings. And in the absence of a former leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, which is now the case, the leader of largest opposition party, in present case the Congress, becomes a part of the committee. The selection process begins when the Home Ministry prepares a list of IPS officers who are eligible for the post. This is based on various different criteria. The list then goes to the Department of Personnel, which prepares the final list on the basis of various criteria such as seniority, integrity, experience, etc. After this, the search committee that we discussed about, including the Prime Minister, CJI and leader of opposition, examines the names and sends out its recommendation to the government for appointment of the CBI director. Going back to our question, as we discussed, the search committee involves the Chief Justice of India, correct. Leader of opposition or leader of the largest opposition party, correct. Central Vigilance Commissioner, no. Home Secretary, no. Prime Minister, correct. So the right answer to this question would be option C, 1, 2 and 5 only. Please note that it was before the enactment of Lokpal Act that under DSPE Act, CBI director was appointed on the basis of recommendations of a panel comprising of Central Vigilance Commissioner as the chairperson, other Vigilance Commissioners, the Home Secretary, and the Secretary responsible for coordination and public grievances of the Cabinet Secretariat. This was the search committee before the enactment of Lokpal Act. Moving on to question number 4. Which of the following is or are fungal infections? 1. Mucormycosis, 2. Cryptococcus, 3. Histoplasmosis, 4. Candida. Before discussing the question, let us have a look at the context. An article in the Hindu newspaper today has a reference to fungal diseases apart from mucormycosis. We must understand that the fungal spores are everywhere. They measure 1,000th to 100th of a millimeter. In tropical areas like India, spore counts are generally higher during the summer than during the monsoons. The hospital air could also carry many opportunistic pathogenic fungi like Candida, Aspergillosis, Cryptococcus, Histoplasmosis, and Coccidioidomycosis. While a healthy person's immune system can fight it off, when a patient whose immune system has been compromised inhales these spores, they may develop fungal infections. While mucormycosis has been a hot topic in news, there are various other fungal infections that we discussed too. Going back to the question, we know that mucormycosis is a fungal infection. We discussed that Cryptococcus is also a fungal infection. Histoplasmosis is also a fungal infection. Yes, Candida, correct. So the right answer to this question would be option D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. All these are fungal infections. Now let us discuss a question from Prelims 2017. Consider the following statements. Statement number 1. In tropical regions, Zika virus disease is transmitted by the same mosquito that transmits dengue. Statement number 2. Sexual transmission of Zika virus disease is possible. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? This Zika virus disease is a virus transmitted primarily by Aedes mosquito and mainly Aedes aegypti. This is the same mosquito that transmits dengue, chikungunya and yellow fever. So the first statement is correct. Although Zika virus is primarily transmitted through mosquitoes, it can also be transmitted from the mother to the fetus during pregnancy. It can be transmitted through sexual contact. It can be transmitted through transfusion of blood and blood products as well as organ transplantation. So statement 2 is also correct. This disease is also transmitted through sexual transmission. So the correct answer would be option C. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Also, some facts to remember about this virus is that Zika virus infection during pregnancy is a cause of microcephaly and other congenital abnormalities in developing fetus and newborn. Also, in adults as well as children, an increased risk of neurological complications can be seen in those affected or infected by the Zika virus. Today we will discuss the Target Olympic Podium scheme. This is a flagship program of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. The scheme was formulated within the overall ambit of the National Sports Development Fund and was launched in the year 2014. This scheme is an effort to provide assistance to India's top athletes. The objective of the scheme was to assist the Indian athletes in their preparation. It is to prepare them for the Olympic medals in 2020, 2024 Olympics as well as Los Angeles Games in 2028. The scheme launched in 2014 was revamped in the year 2018 to have a technical support team for managing the top athletes. Currently, these 9 games have been classified as high priority. Moving on to Mission Olympic Cell. The MOC was created to assist the athletes who are selected under the top scheme. This cell focuses on selection, exclusion, retention of athletes, coaches and training institutes that are a part of this particular scheme. This committee sanctions the budgets based on athletes' requirements and the committee's recommendations and also conducts periodic review of athletes' progress and performances. Also note that this particular scheme, that is TOPS, covers the junior and sub-junior athletes as well. That is all for today. Thank you for watching and keep learning.